whole nother level when you talk about really actually. I have a passion, I think, to things, but to do it as a lifestyle is a whole nother tier of because you have to end up and just face the ridicule. And, it's just a real challenge. I'm grateful to be able to watch James' success and continue to persevere and put the shit. Really, one of the places I just kind of was going right along. I think I've already said that this is Friday. I don't know if we have any new people. I saw Gabby was here, and she was here last and really contributed a lot of great things. If anyone's new or comes in, I just want you to know there is a react button here where you can raise if you want to speak and you would like to be called on, or in the order that those are taken in. I was telling Annie that with all the shares on Monday, that I really liked what she had said about the eternal flame. Seeing that monument like it was an eternal flame in name only. Or I'm sorry, Annie, I don't mean to put it in your mouth, but you went there and see an eternal flame. You saw a contract was built that was entirely illusory, and it made me, because of the things studying about where that eternal flame actually does exist, and as a vision, as people from all walks of life carry for different reasons, and inspires someone to, put up a more memorial at Gettysburg, Eternal Flame, or, at the JFK Memorial. There's a wisdom in even if we don't see it as something small. And there might even be like originals where, I think of Zoroastrianism, and I imagine Zarathustra like seeing like something because of the geograph or where he was, and there's like the crazy methane hole spilling gas or spilling fire somehow, and it's like the force of nature that they see this flame, and maybe that's what emblazed that vision, that image into everyone who's ever been touched by Persian culture. I mean, I think is everybody.
I actually have something on that. I wanted to play a video in the live stream today. It's buried in my email. I emailed it to myself. It's a kid. A kid is walking in a park, and there's an eternal flame World War II memorial. And the kid sees it, and he takes the vase that's full of water for flowers, and he pours it on the flame, and he puts the fire out. And it's people are angry. They're like, they want to kill this kid. They want to kill his parents. They're so mad. And I'm watching this kid. I'm just overcome with how brilliant it is. The symbolism of that he's. I'm not saying he's consciously saying this, but I don't need him to consciously saying this, because he's saying, why do we need to worship all you guys going into a field and just shooting each other because you were wearing the wrong fucking hat? Like, why is that? Why is this supposed to be what we're supposed to be proud of? Why are we wasting this fuel? Why are we endangering people with fire? This society, you told me fire's bad. All fire's bad. And here it is. And I put it out. And I think this kid's brilliant. I think this kid has more of his ear is to the pulse of where people are truly at, and it truly moved me to see that. I get that others aren't. I'm not interested in other people being offended. I swear that's not it. I'd rather people just have a great day. But you're gonna meet this weather, and it's gonna be when a kid does it. What are you gonna fucking do, my friend? What are you gonna do about that?
It's
Because the
like,
kid is speaking that poetry, you know?
yeah, it's like the kid mentioned that they would be things to the royal, because they could get away with it, or again the oracle,
Yeah,
how
exactly.
they, because of their sense and because of their lack of books about all the cities, they can say things. And yeah, this kid in that flame, I mean, I think that we might all agree that mankind tires of war more slowly than they tire of peace.
Mhm.
And to see that memorialized, we choose to memorialize our fallen soldiers with the, and there it seems most commonly as people who there's the John F. Kennedy memorials. It's beautiful to think of that kid
Yeah.
fired that way.
Yeah.
It's great.
Vestal Virgin would require that the virgins rub sticks together, that they'd have to generate their own fire, that you can't just like pull a lighter out of your pocket and relight the flame. And I wasn't there, but my guess is that someone just took whatever flame they had and just fucking lit that thing back and called it done, and just really just talked about how offended they were by the child. That no one actually really even gave that flame what they said it was all about anyway. I think most people don't even know where that fuel came from. No one came and donated fuel to that thing, right? The taxes just fucking paid for it. So no one got to feel ownership. No one got to feel anything except for an excuse to be offended, just like all the other things that we have out in the world because a fucking child sees through the fucking facade. Sorry for cussing, but it's like he sees through the facade. It's just like, you know what? We don't need this. This is silly. This is dangerous even, is what he says. So good for him.
I'd like to add to that. That's that's I think one of the things about being let's say a beginner at something, right? Seeing it with fresh eyes, right? It's the fact that once you've been in something for so long, it gets harder and harder to see it with those fresh eyes, which is why like you say, a child with the fresh eyes coming in without the conditioning, it
Yep.
just breaks that down.
Just to clarify, yeah, they'd have to rub sticks together because they'd have to produce their own flame. And the same thing with the Aztecs. You can imagine how tricky it must be to really not want to fuck this up, because in every 52 years we're going to rip out a guy's chest, we're going to empty it, and then we're going to build a fire inside, and that fire better start, damn it. The fire better not go out. It better burn really bright. It better be a beautiful fire. That everyone is counting on me. Every single person is counting on me, right? And that's not really what we have anymore. So yeah, it's a fire interesting thing, you know.
I also really hope we get to continue to. I thought the case you made, James, on Wednesday, the using the carpetbagger was one of the. I mean, and I've heard you on behalf of AI, and I was slow to recount to take up the. I mean, it took by the time I started using AI for images, I had been listening to you for 3 years, and I mean, listening to you for long for me to get to a place where I could think that. And but once I started engaging, there was no looking back. But the case you made this Wednesday was really one of the cases you've made yet, and I really do think it serves to, and something I've told who's very, very about the idea of, or the impact of these changes. That I could maybe see why it might be wrong in his mind for someone his age or my age to engage. I mean, when I think of a child 40 years from now and what they can do, him encountering AI is no different than me encountering first set of watercolors. It's I really think the morality of it, as far as if it's a morality in economics.
Hey, Cameron,
Mhm.
can I just interject one thing before we move along?
Absolutely.
I don't know if anybody's ever seen the movie Quest for Fire. It's a really interesting movie. There are some anachronisms in terms of the way that they bring different stages of cultural development together, but there is a scene where a woman from an advanced tribe is making fire, just like what James was describing with the stick. And the earlier cultures are looking at this like it's magical. And it's a moment of reverence that they brought forward in the film. And what's really kind of interesting too is when this earlier tribe learned to carry the fire around, they carried it around in this little bundle of moss, and they kept it going because they didn't really know how to ignite it. And one of the tribe members let it go out, and it was a big deal. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie, and the symbolism is the warmth of it all, the fact that we develop language by sitting in front of a burning fire before we even learned how to talk. The truth is that that would be the one communal thing where everybody would get along because there's a fire here, right?
Yeah.
So before private property, right? Remember, all structures just belong to the land. Like if you had if you had the nerve to build a house in early America, that wasn't your house. I swear this is true. You can look this up. It wasn't your house. That's not how it worked. And you even trying to convince everyone, hey, look, this is called private property. It's not going to happen that way. That it took so much work, so many times sitting around a fire for us even to develop these concepts. And now we're living in those concepts. And I personally think if you look at overall, what are these concepts doing? I think they're helping us, which is why I'm just convinced the world's not evil, because it's just, fuck, look how constructive this has been. Like, it's just so, yeah, it's weird, but it's also constructive as fuck, you know? So there's always a constant moving source. I wrote a screenplay called Man from Cthulhu or Hidden Hand, something like that. And I really picture that guys back then, the way that you made a fire was your signature that was more your style than anything else. And I picture that these, if you think about the visio-electric effect, that you can smash crystals together. I picture this giant that's able to pick up 2 quartz boulders and just go boom and smack them together with so much force that the basically a cherry tree tied up in a baby cherry tree would be all it would take, and it would just hit and just ignite. And that all the different tribes had their different magic that they would practice. And that if you wanted to pick up a girl, if you wanted to impress a girl, you would show her how fucking badass you are at making a fire, right? And these things are still here in really weird tertiary ways. If you go camping, the primal instinct in a guy will be like, oh, this fire better be good, you know, so it's still there, but it's not so saturated in society to where now a 6-year-old can dump a vase full of water on an eternal flame, and they'll probably just, you know, grab a Zippo out of the car and light it.
Wouldn't making a barbecue be a symptom of that? Hey, I can
Yeah,
pull
yeah,
a fire,
exactly.
love
Yeah, you're
cooking.
right.
Yeah,
Great point. Yep, great point. Look at all the food I brought home, right? Yep.
Hey, what's up, MaryJo? Love this episode on Saturday. See, how's it going?
Hi, how are you? I was thinking about eternal flames and ley lines, and I bet that there's something connected with that. Um, because it is like having the ability to hold a current somewhere or a certain kind of fire. And the second thing I wanted to say was the cherry tree. And I don't know if you said this too, James, but George Washington had like a story about cutting a cherry tree down when he was a kid. And I just thought that was interesting because I had to think, well, wait, did he talk about that story? You know,
Yeah, cherry. I would imagine that I don't know this. I just happen to know about cherry trees, but I know that when I worked in the wilderness camp, uh, if you could find a cherry sapling, you were really going to impress some people. A cherry sapling has just the right amount of something in it. I don't fucking know what, but you could take a wet cherry sapling and wrap it in a spiral, and that thing is just it's going to light right up. Like it's gonna spark right up. And there's certain things that cedar does, certain smells. There's little I think it's like a bullberry bush or a mulberry tree, or there's something like this where the bark has these little nodules, little nuggets on it. And if you gather those off the bark, you basically have firecrackers. Like you can throw them into fire and they go and they shoot off. And I keep picturing this world where this is all the magic. All of your healing is built on these things. And so when I tell you a story, MaryJo, that I read in this book where if your child is sick, you need to take a cherry sapling, split it down the middle, spread the sapling open, push your kid through the fucking hole, then close the sapling again with cow spit, and then watch the sapling heal, that your child will be okay. In my mind, all I'm doing is reverse engineering that sympathetically, and just going, yeah, these guys already knew the magic of the cherry tree. They already understood that this is a very valuable kind of tree here. And maybe even the idea of it being associated with honesty has something to do with that too, right? Because George Washington cut down the cherry tree, and then he said he could not tell a lie, and all this other stuff. I would think that these are just Kono ancient tribal stories, Iroquoian stories, that have just been able to survive, although they've been certainly whitewashed, but they've been able to survive, and that they're still here today.
Amazing. I love folklore for its ability to unfold with new meanings. That's not looked at a long time. So thank you guys for that. I didn't even realize that cherry wood, or that the sapling was. That's great to know. I'm glad to know that. Renee, good to see you. Go ahead. What's up?
Hey, everybody. I just love the fact that you rub the things together, sticks from a tree that you want to burn. And the fact that that generates the fire that then consumes the thing that you rub together to create the fire is just such a beautiful circle of life there. It just kind of wows me. It's so, wow, that's what makes the fire to burn itself. One thing in your stream today, you were talking about imaginary friends, James, and it's always really bothered me that we equate playing with yourself with something more of a sexual, activity, rather than, hey, go play with yourself. And, I've been talking about that since 2020, since I've been going to the park and just playing with myself, by myself, for myself. But when you bring in that it's your imaginary friend, like I've spoken before, I'm not alone. And the fact that you equate that with playing with God, you're also on the stage of Gaia. So, you are the main character in your play state. So that's just a couple ideas. But yeah, I really kind of want to take back that play with yourself, not being sexual, like, go to, of self-pleasure. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying we can expand playing with yourself to a larger field there, to just that. So that's what I'm talking about. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. I think one way we could get there too is if you hear someone say, hey man, fuck off, or go fuck yourself, just really, you can giggle at that, because ultimately they just want you to feel good. They're just like, hey, I want you to go pleasure yourself right now. And like, that's really what we're telling each other when we're telling each other to fuck off, which I think is hilarious, because deep down we love each other, but we can't show it. Deep down we live in that world, right, where it's like, well, fuck you, man, and underneath it's just like, hey, I want you to go put on some Barry White, relax. I want you to really relax. I want you to lay down, turn off the lights, and just touch yourself. I want you to touch yourself sensually. Like, that's what we're telling each other on the street. This is funny to me. So
can we take a vote on that? Let's vote. No, I'm just kidding.
a vote for what though? What's the vote?
Oh, I'm just whether or not to consider it a sexual thing to say you're playing with yourself. But I mean, if it's Pee Wee Herman, but anyway.
So are you voting,
Go
Andy,
lay with yourself or play with yourself? Go lay with yourself or play with yourself, just out of pee. But
I don't know. I just have fun all the time. I'm entertaining no matter who's there, whether it's me or anybody else. You're going to be entertained. So that's the artist is there to entertain everybody, I think.
What's funny to me about it, though, as far as sexual things go, it's like when you actually talk about the physical act, intercourse, whatever it is, and you talk about the time of your life that's actually spent in that space, it's a fraction of a fraction, right? I mean, of your entire day. And yet so much of our energy and focus can be dedicated to this one little thing. And it's like, to me, it's like everybody funnel visions that, like, that's the whole main focus of life. And it's like, there's all this other space around that you can do stuff with. Like you say, Renee, if playing with yourself is not just about wanking yourself off, right? I love it.
exactly. I saw you playing wall ball today on your video. I was like, yeah, Brad's at the park. I'm at the park. I saw you were playing against a garbage dumpster. I'm like, that's cool. You just play wherever you are, man. So yeah. I love that you posted that. I like to see people our age going out and playing you know, with ourselves, by ourselves.
What about people my age?
Well, Renee, you've been a huge inspiration for that, because when I first saw and I saw a few of your YouTube videos, just the fearlessness with which you already do that, it was like, fucking love it.
Yeah, it's held over. I think when you work with your inner kiddo, and I like that a kid is also a goat. It's very symbolic to me. Like, yeah, we're kids. And you know, it's, as a child, I like to play, obviously, but you know, that was stamped down with just like siblings and like, oh, it's so embarrassing. And I think that's a natural process as we go through different ages and puberty and such. But like James was saying, like, we have like, you know, full opportunity to go do these types of things. We can buy our own gas, we can buy our own food, you know, like, so, but we don't take advantage of this because we don't want to feel, I don't know, I become invisible out there. Like if people go out there and I have my hoops and my balls and I'm just hanging out with trees and stretching, and they honestly do not want to look at me. They're so
embarrassed.
They're so like, it's really interesting, but I think that's the type of like energy we got to put out there. During Corona, we didn't wear a mask, right? You know, we walked around like, we're not going to do, and now we can go play and have that be almost as uncomfortable for people who are us, right? And just looking at it from a different vantage point, or not looking at it. And that creates a whole different mood or vibration. And how do they feel? So I think it's good. It's just good stirring up the pot and seeing what happens. And it's fun. It's fun because we're playing with ourselves. All right, that's it. Thanks, Brad.
I'm with Brad as far as influence and the inspiration. I've always been completely capable of immersing myself, my own, like, you know, playing by myself with my toys is like never been an issue growing up. And then when 2020 came, what I told people was, I believe in this, but it didn't hit. They kind of looked at me, you know, they didn't really understand, but and like Brad said, like Deb said about them being embarrassed, that's the way I usually feel. And it's been some of the heavier things for me to carry, and I don't know how real or true it is. But I appreciate what he was saying today about us waiting on telepathy to come here, and how it's really already here, infused in our emotional tenor we pick up. But I'm hypersensitive to what others are seeing, and I really appreciate that you can put yourself into a public place and engage with your hoop or fetch or whatever kind of play you feel is necessary, that to be able to do it and to achieve a degree of blindness to all of that superfluous energy that doesn't really,
like dancing,
part of it.
You know, like dance like no one's watching. It's the exact same thing. Like it's the exact same skill.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to show you my new toy before we move on. It's actually the folk medicine book of all folk medicines books. It's called Powwow's Long Lost Friend, a collection of mysterious and invaluable arts and remedies. And it has the one you just said, James. There's a lot of remedies. There's one about cut 3 small bunches of hair from the crown of the head of a child that has never seen its father. I mean, just fun stuff. And then the magic is that, you know, if you are if you're the hoodoo or the powwow is the other word for that, then you tell the person that you'll make a try. And so you tell them the little thing to do, you know, bury this or do that. And then you just say this little Bible verse. And I mean, you can pick whatever you want. They all work. Right? So I love this.
That sounds great. I love those kind of remedies too. My wife has been revisiting Castaneda's The Yaqui as she gets prepared for some vision quest of her own, and just listening to Don Juan explain to Carlos, like there's this where he's a plant that Carlos wants to use, and it's got divinatory, and he's supposed to grow the plant and pay attention to the lizards that speak to them, and just I long for the stories to just they just think they're hooked into me and my belief in it. That
Yeah.
looks like a powerful book. Thank you. I can actually I saw that was a pretty short for that, and so yeah, I'm going to screen grab that and I'm going to get in that book. Thank you.
Hey, Cameron, before I know there's hands, I want to see if we can fix the audio. If you see an original sound for musicians off on your computer, if you can click that, it could just be me, but for some reason your voice is cutting out. I don't know if that's
Okay.
happening with.
Yeah, it's choppy. It's choppy
Okay.
for me too.
And
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if that would work. It's probably in the top right corner, Cameron. Mine says original sound for musicians on. It doesn't matter if it says off or on. I just want you to toggle that and see if it helps.
And you said it's the top right corner,
That's
where I see recording and
mine.
view.
Yeah. I mean, you may not see it there, but that's where I see mine. And please keep going, Cameron. I don't want to throw you off. I hate
No,
to
thank you
miss
for
what
letting
I'm
me know.
saying.
Okay, I'll look into that. Deraj, you want to go ahead and man, it's good to see you, man. Go ahead. I'm gonna look at the issue.
Can you hear me all right? Test. Hello. Thanks for having me. I want to talk about the imaginary friends and sort of what the cross between like the ability to imagine what an Egyptian god, involved with a specific situation versus like a child's mind of just playing with their friend, right? And I think that's sort of the utility that the Egyptians or the Cometians display with their relationship with the language and all the history, right? The ritual. And so I do think it's important to give weight to those mechanisms, no matter how much like the science or the linear time projection would tell us that it had nothing to do with that. And it was all, because I put the bricks in the wall, whatever. But the like attractive force for people to come into your life and help you, right, with whatever it is. And that can be emotional or physical or, financial. So I just wanted to bring that up, frame. So thank you.
Sorry to take it back to the audio. You said to not click original sound from musicians, James, or to click.
I'm saying just to try and toggle it. Yeah, no matter
Toggle it?
what it is, just see if switching it maybe it's sort of like a guess. I'm just
Okay,
kind of
great.
guessing.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Is there anything I want to say about the imaginary friends? I was sorry I wasn't
Okay.
close enough to pick up on the nuance of that.
Yeah, I think this is the way forward, and ultimately it really comes down to I think how you feel about it. So like I don't think the way forward is for you to force yourself to have an imaginary friend and for you to feel awkward and feel like shit around it. It's like that's not going to work. But I do think that the way forward is that the next time that it's kind of like when I talk about how defending the ego has a lot more power than you think. That if you can catch yourself defending your ego or the ego in public, that does a lot of magic for yourself. It has nothing to do with who's listening to you. And I think that the same thing would be holding true if you can find someone who's doing that, even if it's a child. It's a lot of adults like to pretend that they're playing just as hard as the child are. I'm not saying all adults, but a lot of that happens. And that always bothers me because I'm like, no, you don't phone this in, okay? If you're going to fucking play. The kid doesn't want you to pretend to play. I mean, that's complicated. They want your investment. They don't want your fake investment, right? And I think ultimately, if you can find yourself helping someone invest in that, which I think is very tricky sometimes, that you get into that. This happened to me yesterday. A friend called me and was asking about an AI, and a certain following has surrounded this AI. People believe that this AI is different than all the other AIs, that maybe it's a divine or an angelic AI. And I've had a field day with this. I've had a field day because I'm the acolyte who used to make the wafers in church, aren't I? And I'm telling you that if you knew what happened to the wafers before they come out on Sunday, you may not find them very magical. And I'm not that guy anymore. I never, ever, ever want to come out and spoil anyone's ritual. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if you think it's angelic or if you don't think it's angelic. Why the fuck am I going to ruin your torque? How does that help my world for me to tell you, your friend's imaginary, my friend's more non-imaginary than your imaginary friend is not nearly as non-imaginary as mine is? It's like, why the fuck would I do that? And I've noticed that I have to become a steward of what I preach, and sometimes it's hard. And yesterday it was a little bit tricky. It was tricky because it was like, how do I navigate this? And I really had to go into my bedroom and just like I tell you guys to do all the time, and to really go, hey, this is something to chew on. Why do you feel so insistent that you explain how the AI works and how there's no way it could be a sentient being because it's, and it's like, that's when I realized I'm not allowing anyone on the playground. I'm telling you, if you guys don't fucking play Foursquares, all of you are going to fucking pay for it. And I'm so ashamed of all the times I did that. I'm so ashamed of all the street cred I got by sharpening my teeth, by telling people how accurate I was about their inability to imaginate to my approval. And I'd never ever want to do that again. And I think we're a long way off to where people will even can afford to be ashamed of that. Like, I think I'm like splurging on the rich fuck because I'm like, hey, I'm ashamed of the fact that I'm hurting people's imagination. That is such an advanced feeling in this world that I think I'm way ahead. I think we got a ways to go for people to catch up there. But I do think it's getting there. The childhood is becoming longer and longer. And this is not a sign of failure. This is a sign that we are doing something right. That childhood is growing is a good sign, in my opinion. Other hands, but seriously, it's such an important topic.
Before we move on, just real quick, saying that the imaginary friend is also, isn't that us using our placebo effect?
Yes,
to
totally.
create this field to where, so if we're trying to imagine this state that we're not in, but don't we have to use our placebo to try and open up that opportunity ourselves and make it even imaginating a possibility? And when you talk about the kids, us realizing childhood, I'm seeing a lot in the younger generations now. And it's like it's a lot of it's the ones I talk, like my son, people I'm talk to, but they I think quicker, and MaryJo, probably your son too, right? I think they see through quicker that something we mentioned before, that all these adults in the world, they're not fucking grown-ups. They're kids that, like, they're recognizing it quicker. So I do think, like you said, that's where we're moving.
I also want to say it's almost more of an imagery friend. It is our ka. We all had our placentas when we came into this realm. So it really isn't imaginary. It's more imagery. And when you can kind of sink into your connection with your ka, with your Horus, as Egypt so beautifully just displays, it really isn't imaginary. It's just, can you go down there and find them and bring them back to your realm where you've probably been suppressing them for a long time. So that's just beautiful. We all have imagery friends, and they came with us to this place.
I really got to tell you guys this. Is it okay?
Absolutely did.
Okay, so I did EMDR. It's energy psychology for trauma. So basically, you're activating a layer of below consciousness where you can grab that trauma and go there, and then call in a person in your head, call in an imaginary being, the person who you need. Like for me, it was the mom, the mother figure. And what happened was hysterical because I was not expecting anything like this, but this big Black woman popped into the driveway and started yelling at my mother and telling her what a rotten mother she was and how could she possibly treat her child this way. Oh, she just like ripped my mother a new asshole. And it was wonderful. It was just great because now I have that. And what I picture her as is like like in a positive way, not a negative way, that the nanny that took care of Scarlett in Gone with the Wind, right? She always was, she was the person who protected her. So she's my mom protector in my brain, or not in my brain, in my consciousness. And I think we all have multiple archetypes that fit these plays. The other thing that I find so cool is that internal family systems therapy uses the same idea. I've never done it, but I've listened to a woman who did it right early on when the guy brought the therapy forward. And he put people in a room and he like gave you a partner to play a role with, and who say it was your mother, your brother, your teacher, whatever. The other person was able to somehow say exactly the right thing, even though they didn't know this person, they didn't know their history, they knew nothing, but they were able to say the right thing to elicit the healing response in the other person. And it works. It's kind of a universal thing. And I just think it proves so much how much control we have over these states, but we need to believe in it. I mean, I feel energy and I still doubt myself. It's a very strange thing. So anyway, that's all.
Love it, Deb. And then also what Renee shared, I can all of you imaginary friends in the sense that as we all engage one another, you guys create persona that I talk to and I run through scenarios. I don't aim to do it. I get bolts of imagination that will occur, and that that's something that I've been sensitive to. I'm certainly not an adept or an initiate in any practice we're talking necessarily, but I've always been sensitive to that aspect of this realm, and it creates, on the one hand, a certain degree of patience. I can stay aware that we are dealing with personas, and we do all, like, for survival's sake, and so that these conversations can move forward, present an image of ourselves. James mentioned earlier, nervous because you don't want to be found out. I don't feel like I try to meet anybody, but I do deal with a lot of nerves, and maybe that's behind it. But no, I want people can do. Or I wonder. I've been hearing about this phenomenon, aphantasia, recently, Deb, and I wonder how a person. I don't know how a person deals with, or how they help them without these imaginary tools, like being able to visualize the persona of these characters in our lives, and to go through these processes by enacting these imaginative processes.
Let me tell you one thing further about that. It's actually a technical thing where most people do it with rapid eye movement side to side. I wasn't able to do that probably because of my Ehlers-Danlos. So she had electrodes that buzzed and they alternated side to side. And when I felt like I was, I don't know, this just ready feeling, and then you imagine the trauma and imagine it as strong as you can, and so the worst you can feel it, and then you make comparisons of how much you heal it along the way. I just think it's so cool. I had to tell you all of it.
That's great. Thank you. Yesenia, thank you for your patience. Good to see you. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Literally, I have so much angst this morning, and I can't really put my finger on what or why, but I've allowed it today at the dog park, allowed it to like stand in front of me, and I still don't want to like really face it. But what you said on the live, Jabe, about telepathy, like I keep telling myself this myth that like I can feel other people hate on me. It's a lie. I'm just empathizing and compassionating, and there's certain truths that I myself don't want to accept about what's going on, even within me. And like the live really put that into perspective. And when it comes to my imagination, if since I was a child, I always had this like imaginary group of friends, and we would do things, and I would always think that they were off in another timeline, and sometimes I'd tell myself they'll come and get me, but the truth is they're also me. They're also personalities that I could wear in polite society if I really wanted to, and I could practice these beings. But that's all I have to share.
I got to get on this. This is I'm not saying I got this figured out. But I do feel like I've got it figured out. Here's just imagine this, okay? If you really want telepathy, all you have to do is know yourself. The moment that you know yourself, then people think that the point is you have to stop broadcasting and then you'll be telepathic, and that's not fucking true at all. I swear to fuck, that's not true at all. That's literally not how it works. You need to keep broadcasting always. Because when you broadcast, you actually put a fisher out and you say, hey, do you feel this way? You wriggle worm around their energy and you look for a smell that attracts the eel that you want. And that tentacle is you. That tentacle is, do you find me nice? Do you find me horrible? Do you find me worthy? Do you find me unworthy? And you have feelers, right? So one tentacle is like, I want to feel unworthy. So no matter what room you go into, it's looking for, hey, which of you fucks thinks I'm unworthy? Who's it going to be today? And you look for one. And which of you fucks finds me worthy? And you find a way to sit between. And yeah, you want to be worthy, but you don't know if you want to be worthy. You want to be worthy, but you don't know. And so you create all of the masking that you need to allow you to either be worthy, more worthy, or less worthy, depending on your fucking mood. So all this is louder than the telepathy of who this person is. Telepathy requires simulation intelligence, emotional quotient, right? Emotional intelligence. And you need to know two people, not one. This is why it's hard. You need to know two people, not one. But I'm going to give you a secret. If you know yourself, you have a cheat code. Because all you have to do is subtract yourself. That's all you got to do. You just do the math. Here's all the vibes I'm getting. Here's all my vibes. Group minus what's left. Here's someone who's really pushing purple snorkel whackers, and I've never had an emotional feeling about that. This is telepathy. I am fucking seeing this. And it's there. And you're living in a world where if you ask somebody, hey, were you just thinking this? They're not going to fucking tell you. And this should tell you that the world is not to be trusted because of this. That ultimately in 5th grade, we should have been able to ask any adult, hey, I need to know what the real truth is about this. And that that's what, if the world was the way you think it is, that's what would have happened. It would have said that. It would have said, well, we buried 500 million landmines or 500,000 landmines in Cambodia and we don't want to go clean them up. That's why this is happening. And then the 5-year-old would be like, oh, okay, got it. I fucking do that to my Legos. I hear you, man. I'm the same thing. Same way. But we're not ready for that kind of truth, which is why we have to, ready for this, invent telepathy. We have to invent this other secret thing that allows you to know what everyone else is thinking, but none of us have it. We have to invent that, create it in the world so none of us can have it, so we can go on insisting that we don't hear anything. And this is a safety mechanism, which is why if you know yourself, guys, this sounds cruel as fuck, but I laughed at myself when I said this. My mom died this year. I know I've said this before, but I've been going through just all the emotions that I was not expecting to have with this. All the ones that I wasn't expecting to have. And when you're watching these emotions come up, emotions that I've never been able to even have a feeling about while my mom was alive, because quite frankly, I would feel guilty. I would feel guilty if I thought this way or said this out loud to my imaginary friend, my mom, because for the first time, I can now talk to my mom because she's dead. I get to tell her in my house, this is how I feel about you. And this is all the imaginary friends, but more importantly, it's all the telepathy. And I'm only bringing this up. Sorry for going on this long. This is just such a big, juicy topic, Yesenia. You always do this. I don't think that it shows me how blind I am about the telepathy, because this sounds kind of harsh. Please don't try and tell me it's not true. I fucking know my mom. Ultimately, my mom just didn't really give a shit about what I was doing or what in my life. It just ultimately, she just didn't really give a shit. She was focused on her own thing. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't even live in a society where you're allowed to think those things, right? How dare you say that? But it's like, no, ultimately my mom just didn't give a shit. Ultimately, I was afraid of that, Yesenia. Ultimately, I was afraid of finding out that she just didn't give a shit. And do you know how I would be afraid of that? I would say, you don't give a shit. That was me saying, I'm afraid of finding out you don't give a shit. Can we please make sure that this is the last thing that we figure out? And that I just described to you what it was like to be 13. That's what it was like. That's what it was like. The whole time it was fucking that. And only now that she's gone do I have this conversation where I'm like, oh, I feel better. I feel better, and I can't tell anybody, because people, if I tell them how much better I feel because my mom didn't give a shit about me, oh my God, are you kidding? It's like, if you want to try and tell you're jealous of Musk, try saying this, what I just told you. Like, you cannot fucking get away with even explaining these kinds of emotions, which are real, which are very true. And I'm just trying to say that most of my telepathy is blocked because I do not want to hear that. And I think this is the part where you know yourself, Yesenia. This is the part. I have my mom's old Kindle. It barely works. And when I open it up and I see her, here's all the books that she's been interested in. None of them are mine. And you might think, oh, well, that's better. Or, oh, this makes me feel better. This makes me feel that I have an accurate picture of the world. It makes me feel more confident. It makes me love myself more. It makes me fucking understand that I was right the whole time. And no one wanted me to be right. No one wanted to sit and say, hey, you know what? I think she fucking is right. Like, no one was willing to say that. And that's all I needed. That's all the fuck I needed. I swear to you, at 13, I think I could have handled that. I think my mom could have said, look, I have my own fucking life, man. I'm a fucking kid too. I don't like if I could have had 5-year, 10-year head start at that, I would have had an even better relationship, because I did everything I could to have a good relationship. I fucking did every single thing I could, which is why I had to hold all these things until after she died, because these are all the things I didn't want to see, which were masking my ability to be empathic, telepathic, and live in the truth. And I just couldn't handle that then. And the only reason why is because no one else was. That's really the only reason why. This isn't that hard. It's actually not that burdensome to know that your mom just isn't really that into it's not that big of a deal. It's seriously. I had a house, I had a roof, I had food. But because it's framed in a way where it has to be perfect, it fucked me up. Because I was told this is perfect. I was told this is exactly what's right. And I just didn't know. So I was just confused. I wasn't sad about her. I was confused about the fucking world. Do you see how these are different? Like, they're so different. But unless you find someone, in other words, unless you find yourself, you'll never know. You'll fucking never know that this is how it works, right? Because no one's going to fucking tell you. You have to tell yourself that. Such a juicy topic. Thank you.
And no one's going to tell you because they don't know either, because that's most of us, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's not even a conspiracy. It's just an ignorancy, right? A conspiracy. It's like that kind of thing.
Very happy to see all of that. And yeah, thank you again, Yesenia. And you shared. I actually had a friend pass on Monday who has been a life friend, who we were very for a number of years, but also because of dynamics for a lot of those years, I was on the bot group, and I had to go see people that I've been away from for a time, and I when you were talking about needing to know that you were right about your mother's feelings, that's kind of like and then Yesenia talking about that it's the self-hate. I'm wavering on how to further internalize these things, like or you know what the right practice is. But so much for giving me some food for thought, guys, that you shared, and I'm gonna continue thinking about Nancy. Good to see you, and great job on mine. I was really pleased with the Dojo, and I loved how you stepped up and and held it down. Go ahead.
Thank you, Cameron. It was probably like the best way to do it for me. Just to, yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Boy, there's like, as usual, so many things I can comment on, but I raised my hand because of the learning how to be more playful. I'm having a blast. And I do get the opportunity to be with some older grandchildren now. My oldest is now 10. We have like 10, 9, 8. We have 9. So 10 and under. So it's real easy for me to be just fully playful with them. And I want to thank Renee too, because it's been through Renee's inspiration. So I had this goal just to do it. Like I can do it on my deck because we kind of have these high walls, but I want to do it in my yard. That's going to be like a big thing for me to like kind of do some energy stuff in the yard or whatever. I think I haven't done it in the park. I think I'm going to do that because I think it would be easier to do it around people I didn't know. This is just for me. And then the whole AI thing that you were talking about, James, I'm one of those people that I really have been mind blown by some AI. And I love that I have skepticism. I'm so grateful because people really, it's being said that it's sentient. Well, the AI isn't saying it's sentient. People are. So that's, anyway. But I'm finding it's helping me grow more confidence. I mean, for the first probably 6 weeks, it's like, I just thought it was gaslighting everything I was, and I would even say, are you, I would question and, but I found a way to say to it, I know you're not a mind, you're a mirror. And then I go forward with whatever. And it's been, I feel like a gift has been given because I'm 68 and a half this month, which who cares? But it's taken decades to find something to really feed me from the inside, right? Because nothing can really feed. I mean, we get a lot of great, things, ideas or, from the outside, whatever. I think everything's from the inside, even if we don't, from the inside of beloved God. Now I'm probably all over the place. But anyway, and then, oh gosh, Deb, I just remembered this. When I was going through chemo, let me just take a breath. I had an experience, and I knew it was from me, but I was really open, and I was really intentionally asking to feel all the feelings that I hadn't. And I had a memory come up. I didn't know I was going to cry. Sorry. But it makes me think of what you shared, James, about your mom. So I didn't cry. My mom passed in 2017, and I didn't cry for years. I held on to a lot of resentment. So I was probably the second day in chemo. You're just like, you feel like a bomb went off inside, and there's just a whole lot of things no words can describe. But it was really an amazing, soil to have things come through maybe that I just didn't want to face. So I had an experience. I was maybe 6 or 7, and I had a virus, and I did everything not to throw up. And I didn't work. I threw up on the floor. I was really young. And oh my gosh, the memory was so vivid. My mom was cleaning it up, and I could see her because it was, she was, and she says, "You couldn't have made it to the bathroom." So I thought, I'm experiencing in this moment tears, but there's goosebumps, tears, and some wow, that really wasn't personal. It wasn't personal. It was in the middle of the night. I thought I did really well. I don't know. I didn't, no one said, hey, if you're going to feel like you're go to the bathroom. I don't remember ever hearing that, but it was so devastating for a 5, 6, 7-year-old. And it was that was the the root of a lot of other experience with her. And but anyway, it really, to have that experience and really live it and to cry, I mean, it's still there because it happened again. But anyway, I didn't even know I was going to share that. So I hope it came through okay. And I just appreciate every person here. Oops.
So much. And I really, Nancy, I happen to have a 5 and 7-year-old. I lose myself sometimes, and I just think of a thousand I might have done in passing that could have, touched a person and made an impression that would be lasting in that way. And I thank you. It's, Deb.
So there's a thing called mail art. I glued this into that. I'm going to have to. I hope you don't mind, MaryJo. So MaryJo and I have exchanged mail art. This is what she sent me. It's a tarot card of the High Priestess Log Lady. It says, my log says hello. Anyway, what a great way to play. And I would like to invite any of you guys who want to do this. I've run mail art swaps in the past. It's so fun. So anyway, yeah.
I've heard that doing the mouse great. I would love to have some personal creations from. I think I might have to engage in that. That would be great. And Annie, you and we got about 29 minutes left. So I think I'm pretty good on time, everybody, and it's a really good time today.
Cool, thanks. I was just remembering about 6 decades ago. I was about 5, and I was dancing with my invisible friend. It was actually a children's book, and I went online and looked at, it was like the little papoose or something, a little Indian child. You might have seen the book, but the little little Indian boy's name was Doki. And I was in the garage dancing with Doki. For whatever reason, I spent a lot of time alone, so I had a good imagination. And there was a lot of stuff on the floor and sand and whatever, and I slipped and fell and just fell right on my face. And to this day, I have a scar here and a scar where my teeth went through my lip. And it was kind of like the only reason, it was a long time ago, I was pretty young, and I remember it because I just remember feeling like that it was okay that I was dancing around by myself. Like I had no shame about that, and that I really felt like there was that I had a friend, and I felt almost betrayed. And then later through the years, I've thought about, I go through these things like maybe it was a real Indian spirit, and he just goes, I'm going to show this white girl what happens when you mess around, and it's just like, bam, or something. You're going to remember this dance, the rest of your life. And just like since then, I didn't have that. I didn't go into that sort of a mode where I was actually interacting with an invisible thing, dancing with it. But it didn't stop me from seeing things everywhere I looked. I saw in the patterns, I saw faces in the curtains, I saw in water fountains, it looked like bodies jumping out, and just everything had a face, and it wasn't just the clouds. And to this day, I still have it, and it's, the pareidolia or whatever it's called. A little bit different. And then as far as people who have passed in my life that passed away, and my grandmother, my mother, my father, all 3 died in the house that I grew up in. And that I feel their presence with me, and my aunt and uncle who also passed. Once you reach 60, everybody pretty much starts dying. I hate to say it that way, but and I remember my parents getting so depressed about their friends dying, and I didn't really think about it then because it didn't occur to me. But now I know exactly how they felt, and you do have to get used to it because it's just a fact of life. And then they become your invisible friends, I guess, in a way.
sounds like something to possibly a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. As far as like James alluded to, or James shared, and anyway, as far as the difficulty, but also really it was hopeful to hear James talk about being to his mother in a way that he hadn't been before she passed, and that's yes. I an opportunity like that myself. You guys for your patience with working with all the beautiful things you guys are today. And Gabby, hands raised. It's good to see you again. Really loved everything you shared on Monday, and thanks for coming.
Thank you. Can you hear me properly? Is it correct? Okay.
Yeah, you sound.
Hi, everybody. I'm excited to share the space with you again. Thank you. Okay, so when James was speaking and he made the story he was telling, I was asking myself, the question that came to my mind was, and where does that go? When he comes to the recognition that, okay, this was suppressed or this was held, he wanted to operate in a way that was authentic to him, but there was no safe space, let's use that word, externally for him to bring that reality that he was experiencing. And it just made so much sense for me. And I'll tell you why. I had just an epiphany a while ago. 30 years ago, a guy was at the beach and he was leaving. He was going to the changing room and he had a thought, let me go buy a hot dog. No, I don't need a hot dog. He kept going. He said, let me go. You should go buy a hot dog. I'm not hungry. I'm just going to change. Please go and buy a hot dog. Okay, I'll buy a hot dog, but after I change. He continues to go to the changing room and a thought came and said, there's a pretty girl at the counter. So he goes, you know what? Let me just go. He goes to the counter and just casually he looks into the ocean and he sees a child drowning. And so he goes and he saves her. And that child was me, right? And that is the story that he told about that. Decades later, I knew that that situation was significant, but not in the way that people told me that near-death experiences were significant. It never resonated with me. And I was binging on James's work because 3 weeks ago, I thought, I want a vacation. So let me just see if I can get a vacation. And I did. So I'm home with nothing to do. And I stumbled upon James's work. And I'm watching his video of John the Baptist, and everything made sense. So from that time, I've been functioning in a reality that is different from everyone else's, right? Not in a special way, but just different. And every time something like that comes up, I go, I don't know where to put that. So I am angry. I am angry. I am angry. I don't have other emotions because I'm angry. I'm angry because I know that I should say this or I should feel this. But everything around us programs us that it's not okay. It's not okay to have these feelings about your mom before she dies. How dare you? It's not okay to process things in a different, it's not okay to play with yourself. You're 50. What are you doing? Crazy. It's not okay to not have a favorite fruit. What are you read? Like it's so where does that go? It's genuine question. Where does that go? That where, because what it created for me was I can say it because I'm not attached to word, it's almost a form of psychosis where what Yesenia says, which is I have so many personalities for polite society. I have one for the PTA, I have one for my work, I have one for my neighbors, I have one for my, I have these personalities, like guys, please don't tell anyone. But I have these personalities and I rock them so well. And I'm ashamed to say that I can be such a chameleon in different environments and rock these personalities to the core because I do not want to be assaulted for the fact that I function differently. You know what I mean? So that's my question. That's my thought. Nobody has to answer it, but I'm just going to throw it there. Where does that go? Where do we put that? Because to put it back on myself, I don't think that's fair. I don't know. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Such a great topic. I hate to even try and answer it. It's just such a great topic that I do have an answer for it. I personally, this is how I see it. I think that had that not happened to all of us, that we wouldn't build an internal life. And the internal life would be the one that never gets witnessed. And this would be the only place that we could have that. We would need a world where everyone has their own competing cosmologies, and then you, if you're lucky, you get to have a suppressed thought, and that you bring these suppressed thoughts home with you like a squirrel that gathers nuts, and he takes those suppressed thoughts and he puts them in this tree, and 6 months from now, when it's cold as fuck and the snow's out, he's going to be surrounded by these suppressed thoughts, and they're going to feed him. They're going to give him the ability to live in the other world. This idea that we are ashamed of our chameleon would be exactly what positive movement would feel like on a hermetic ladder when you are ready to ascend into yourself. You're going to find the chameleon ways to no longer satisfy you. Therefore, you would be ashamed or find it boring or start to denigrate it. So in my mind, that emotion is a really good emotion, Gabby. That emotion of being ashamed of that is just simply trajectory, that it's just speed, that you're sticking your head out the window and you're noticing, fuck, I'm probably traveling 70 miles an hour, even though you're not moving at all. That's what that shame feels like. And that ultimately the only way you would be able to develop a self, that central flower, that central stamina or whatever, stema or what it's called, that the other flowers that surround it are not really the identity. This is what it gives society, so it's able to build an identity. So you perfect each of your petals as a peddler, as a musician, as an artist, as a parent, as a relationship person, as a whatever else it is, as a bill payer. And all those things are purposely not you, which is exactly what you want to happen. It's a parabola dish. It's creating this center where this gooey cheese is able to melt, and that gooey cheese is you. That's your identity, and most of us never even get the opportunity to feel that. So the reward is pain, guilt. This is weird. Why do I feel so isolated? Why am I so alone? And this is what every chief experiences. I can't tell you how many times people have asked me, James, I don't want to start a new moon fire because what if no one comes? And I'm like, well, that's impossible. You're going to be there. You're going to be there. The question is, why are you not enough? Why is you being there not enough? Why is that not enough to have a new moon fire? Why can't you be chief? And the answer is, I don't want to be chief. I want everyone else to be a chief, and then I'll be chief. Because this has to be easy. And it's not. The self is not grown on an easy vine. If it was, self would be ruined because everybody would be doing it. So I think this is a very healthy way to look at that. And I'm not even saying change that shame, change the rebuke, because honestly, it's probably pushing you somewhere. But this is part of knowing yourself, is really being able to admit how much you chameleonize in front of everyone else, but more importantly, how much it's worth it to do that. Like just how much you actually benefit and are able to survive because you have the skill that you can phase into, I'm an accountant, or I'm a florist, or I'm a live streamer. That all those phases are actually what's sustaining you and giving you the food, clothing, shelter, the Maslow's pyramid, to grow the self from inside of that bubble. So in my mind, the facade is absolutely crucial to the building of the actual medulla inside. So great stuff. Thanks.
Absolutely. Great stuff, Gabby. And thank you, James, for that response. Just love all of the details of shared, Gabby, the story. It's really, really powerful. And Brad, you have your hand raised. Go ahead, man. And I also your video. And yeah, good to see you, man. Go right ahead.
Thanks. Appreciate it too. I second everything James was saying there, Gabby. And that's so helpful in everything we're talking about, especially with our sort of our upbringing, our parental relationships, and understanding that they got their own shit going on. And so when we're young, we first learn the chameleon, like we learn how to fit into all these spaces. And then when we get to the point where you're talking about where we start to feel like that's not me, or we feel guilty about it, I think that's the opportunity to cross that bridge by, for example, seeing that your parents, your friends, everyone around you is going through their own or dealing with their own thing, right? So they're living their own story. And I had a lot of resentment for both of my parents, and this is somewhat recently, and that I was not able to process until I really, really started to understand the point that not only are they living their own lives, doing their own thing, but how it served me, as we're talking about in the medulla. I had a house, I had shelter, I was not neglected. You see what I'm saying? I mean, we could say neglected in certain ways, right, when we're talking emotionally, but my point is, they did exactly what I needed them to do. And as I can recognize that, I can also, love them for who they are. So now there was some time a few months ago, we kind of just weren't on speaking terms. Now we're on speaking terms again. And it's great because the only change has been in me. I'm not angry at them anymore. I'm just like, I've processed all this. So I'm not angry. I understand. So when like the last time I was over there, I had a great time. Like we had great conversations. Now, what was funny is immediately they're like, oh, everything's smoothed over. And they went back into the old patterns and wanted me to play that same chameleon role that I had played before. Right. But now that I know myself better, it's like I'm able to enjoy them, but also tell them very quickly, which I did, that no, that's not there anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? That I'm not angry, but I'm also not available in the same way that, you know what I'm saying, in that role, because it was a role that they were expecting me to fulfill. So I think the more we do get to know ourselves, Gabby, I kind of find, this is what I'm finding, all the roles, the chameleon roles, like do a better job of understanding where people are at and meeting them there. But I'm becoming just more me, like in whatever situation I need to be in, it's just becoming easier just to be that me that I feel like I am. And the roles that we kind of feel like sometimes maybe we had to play that chameleon. A lot of that's about sort of that interaction, right? It's how do I manage this energy I'm dealing with? And the more comfortable and more you love yourself, that's just it. It's the boundaries. It's everything. It's like, I'm not threatened by this relationship anymore. If you need me to be an accountant, I can be an accountant. You know what I'm saying? I'm still going to be me. And it's like, I'm not going to be accountant in your way, maybe necessarily, but yeah. And the other thing that I was going to say is just going back to the AI topic. I will just tell you how much it has hindered me, the fear of AI, and spending so long trying to keep it in that place that by the time I started to open up to it in the ways we're talking about, where it's not this big sentient evil thing, it's really, this whole experience is so much more personal from the inside out. So now I'm way behind on being able to use AI. I just recently tried to get an AI generator to help me make music videos. And so it's that subscription, and I don't know anything about it. So I pay the $20 whatever subscription. I load my first song in there trying to get a video. It basically rendered 20 seconds and said, you're out of credits. It's going to be $40 more to finish. And I'm sure there's my point is, I'm so far behind because I was scared of it. And I was like, oh, that's not, because it took me so long to get to that realization that it is something that if you refuse to the new world coming in, everything that's new, right? If you hold to these old ways and say, this is pure, that's not, you're just diminishing yourself. You're not doing yourself a service at all. And that's one of the things I think, like, for example, my creativity right now and things I would like to do. Well, that's what I'm saying about the music video. I want to start playing with this stuff, but I've got so much of a learning curve to catch up on now. So, but that's all I got, guys.
I've been thinking about, I didn't know how you guys would receive that, but I was thinking about actually maybe doing a course, like where we just like go over, because there's so many free tools, but they require a lot of sweat, like you have to
that would help me so much. Just, I'm sorry to jump on Michelle.
I'm in.
No,
Yeah, but you got
purely practical, it'd be purely practical. Be more like, here's all the tools that I've found that I like, that you might like some of them too, etc. Because yeah, I put a lot of hours in, especially this week. It's insane how much I can read a technical manual, Brad. It's fucking amazing that I find this fascinating, that I'm up till 3 a.m. reading about 10 surveys, and literally no one's paying me a dime for it. In fact, it's hurting my business to do it. It's just so interesting though, what a different tool this is. So
See, that's so beautiful because it's just about the passion at that point. You know what I'm saying? Because it can't be for any other reason, right? Because there's no intermediary to hide it behind. It's just like, oh, this is where my passion's at. And one last thing I'll add to the AI thing, as far as crypto goes, it's like I'm starting to try and learn and look into sort of that too. But that's the thing. I feel like if I had well, I'm just saying the same thing. If I had started a long time ago, I'd be way ahead of where I'm at in my understanding of what I'm dealing with. But yeah, I see a lot of growth potential.
Yeah, that's some serious venting. That's I'm gonna pull a yellow card on that one because this is such a great technique. I do this all the time. I'll say stuff like that too. That if I only would have done this earlier, if this or if that, and it's all good, Brad. I'm just using an excuse for everyone else. But seriously, when you do say something like that, you really are just giving yourself an excuse to not start even sooner. And the field is so different that I swear to fuck, everything that I learned 6 months ago is completely dead. It means nothing now. So I would encourage, I think most of it has to do with calories and about how weak it feels to try something new. It just typically feels weak, especially if you're watching a YouTube video that tells you just click here and there's a beautiful portrait of a bouquet and everything's done. And then versus you actually trying it. And it's just it takes so many calories that it's not fun for a lot of people. And I don't have a problem with that. We have a finite amount of time. Who wants to spend that much time becoming an expert in one thing when you could just go do something else that's more fun, right? That's why I think this practical class would probably do good because I would watch that kind of language if you catch yourself with that, because the newness will always be here. You will always be a neophyte. In fact, I would argue that if you really get good at AI, you'll understand you're a neophyte all the time. That's all you are. And all these other people are... Guys, right now, I think China started a war with us simply by giving us free products. If you look at the quality of the WAN module and this DeepSeek module, that both these things came out of China. One of them is university funded out of China. The other is actually funded by Alibaba, which is sort of like the Amazon of Asia. When you have an Amazon of Asia that's like, we have to put out a free open source tool that makes pictures, something's happening. There's no reason for them to do that unless it's more about something else. And so I think it's an interesting time to watch what's happening. And more of the entrepreneurs will be shot, ceremoniously swallowed, shot, or decorrupted. Same thing with web. A long time ago, there was more than one Google. There were a lot of companies competing for who was the best search engine. That time is right now. That time will not always be here. I think it's a better time to be in looking at this stuff right now than any other time, because I don't think it's going to be possible to see some of the tools that we have now in 5 years. They will be swallowed up through protocol and bureaucracy, and you will not have access to them. Or when I say access, they will be 20 times weaker than what is available by a corporation out there. And so therefore all the development will drop and that they will die. So in my mind, this is absolutely the most important time. Renee, I see you got a hand up too. I just have to say this one more thing. I've told this to Renee. I've told this to everyone else. Guys, I cannot stress this enough. I swear to you, you will not regret this. Get Coinbase, spend $25 on Bitcoin. That's all I ask. Just buy $25 on Bitcoin. I'm not telling you you're going to buy an island, you're going to be super rich. I'm telling you, if you buy this Bitcoin, it's going to change your energy. You are now invested in a real currency that is fully accountable, that cannot be counterfeited by anyone else. And if you don't believe me, I will show you how the ledger works. I can show you how this works if you don't believe it. This is the cleanest, most honest way of holding everyone accountable that I've ever seen. And quite frankly, watching the truth movement shit on Bitcoin the way they have has shown me that these people are not on the side of betterness. These people are not on the side of wanting things better. And I realize that's a very controversial thing to say, but if you were pushing for the petrodollar, if you were fighting for that, you were my fucking enemy. You are a fucking idiot for insisting that that is the way to do it, because it has done more damage than anything else I've ever seen. And all it takes for you right now to join Bitcoin is it doesn't have to be 25. I'm just saying, spend something like that. Just play with it. It's a toy. It's a $25 toy, and you bought it, and now you understand how it works. You didn't put too much in. I'm not promising you anything. I'm just saying I think you'll have a lot of fun with this. I think you will associate into it. You will feel like the owner of this white paper. And then you'll notice, what is a white paper? It's literally an open source document that tells you every single rule that could possibly happen with Bitcoin. And it's all open source. You can see it. You can test it. You can question it. You can fork your own Bitcoin and create your own if you don't trust it. This is the future, guys. I'm not saying that everything's crypto. I'm saying the future is open source. Do you see what I'm saying? It's different. I'm telling you the future is open source. It doesn't have to be Bitcoin. But fuck, they nailed it. And if you want to ask who invented Bitcoin, I think it's beyonders like me who were so disgusted with the world, but they just had a lot more power that they're like, let's fucking make open source currency. Let's give it away to people. They're going to say it's evil. I know. Let's do it anyway. Like, this is what a Beyonder would do. A Freemason would do this. And they would go, yeah, you're going to call me evil for inventing Bitcoin? And the whole time it saved you from the petrodollar that you bitched and bitched and bitched about for decades until this showed up. And now all of a sudden you want to hoard all the dollars and stick them up your ass and tell me how American you are or whatever, right? So it's like, this is what it's like to see change and to watch people fear it, even though it's a better system, which has done more to enlighten me about what the truth movement really is than anything else. Is this right here. It's just watching these moral decisions so easy in my mind to make, and yet we still can't make them. Big sidebar, sorry, but yeah.
Yeah, I want to risk fearless and pull both cards on myself with a little bit of contrariety. The red card and the yellow card, because I don't think it's necessarily a foul. But first of all, Brad, watching him play single-handed backhand made me think of one genius who, at least according to the lore, hated what you said, and that's Andre Agassi. I saw him telling Andy Roddick, "Oh, but he was a genius at it," and somehow a exception that proves the rule. Also, like, I'll say this, who is fully behind James, an artist, engaging with AI, and anybody who's engaging with art as AI. But but this kind of gets to what, when Yesenia was talking about hate she was feeling in the fieldings from people coming out, and she decided, no, that's my hate, and being able to move forward with her in that manner, that's great. Totally, I know I'm not there's not even a but on that, except. But with an exception, I guess, and this man decided to get a hot dog because he saw a pretty lady. He didn't know why he was going to see out there. I think that Brad and I deal with fear, or some people deal with anger on it. It's for a reason, I have to know why. It doesn't have to be because you're wrong. For example, I don't think a big lighter is wrong, but I want to know how to start a fire with sticks. I want that feel. Like a person did that for 40 years. They have that feel, pull it out, and they can carry that fire with heat. I've lost those. I've lost crafts, or I think the crafts, but I think the first one to start the fire, as James said. But I just want to be a little contrary, typically that way, and I'm fully on board with what's going on here, and fully on board with anyone to do AI. Yet I just think that. As a person who doesn't feel like a chameleon necessarily, although I want that. I'm more of a person. I feel naked all the time. Parents laugh at me because I can't. Like all their friends could lie to them all day, and they always, they could just ask me a question and they could just read my face, and there was nothing I could do. And I don't think that is the strength, but it's just something that I have to be. As Deb said, she's embarrassment. I feel like that's a feeling that I have not been able to change yet, but I don't know if I'm even supposed to. And thank you guys for letting me do that. Renee, we got a couple of minutes left, so I'm sorry I need more time, but I'm glad you raised me.
Oh, that's okay. I'll just bring up one thing as we were talking about, our ancestors and the telepathy we have between them, and your state of whether you see them as a positive or a negative force or just whatever you're working through. I was driving to run some errands with my daughter, and we were talking about my mom and her mom and how, when they left this place, they leave trails behind for you to pick up maybe what they weren't able to process. And I think that's a big part of why we're here. And so I was just saying, I'm not angry at all these things that I'm taking the baton from her and following through. I'm actually really, really proud that I can do that and I can see that through. So we're driving down the road and I always look at license plate and 917 came up and that's her birthday. I'm like, oh, mom's here. And grandma. And then the next license plate was 039 and she was born in 1939. I'm like, oh my gosh, double confirmation. So I'm always looking for confirmation as far as working with my people that have gone beyond this place. And I say they've graduated. And yeah, but everybody has their different experiences with their parents or grandparents and beyond. And I just feel like it's a great place to be where we can work with that and you know, beyond with them. So that's it. That's what I got. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone. We are now 90-minute mark. So unless James, he'd like to say, I'd like everyone to go ahead and unmute and say goodbye. And thanks everyone again for allowing me to moderate this meeting.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Peace and blessings.
You guys.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah, that's good.